So in this video, I'll show you how to create a column in the Grade Center. So again, we're looking at the full Grade Center right now, and you'll see that there are buttons at the top. Sometimes it's hard to know that these are buttons, but if you hover over it, you can tell. It says create column, create calculated column, and then the manage and reports again. So I'll show you in a future video how to create a calculated column or a weighted grading column particularly. But right now you can use this create column button to, in a simple way, create a column. And then I'll show you another way to add a column. But if you go to this button, you can just add a column name. If you want it to be called something, in the Grade Center differently, you can add it there, but it's not necessary. You can add a description if you'd like. Again, that's not necessary in the Grade Center, but it can be helpful. And then you want to choose the primary display and the secondary display. I often switch this, even though the default is to show the score. Sometimes if you're grading out of possible points that total 100, the score can be confusing to students because they don't know what the letter grade is unless they calculate it themselves. And so if, for instance, it's a 20-point scale and it's not a 100-point scale, I might switch this to percentage. You can also give a letter grade, but percentage is going to be a little more specific. So I would switch that to percentage, and then in the secondary display, have it be the score. You can add a category, so whether it's an assignment, a test, a discussion, a journal, you can select that here. And then here is where you show the points possible. So you can see that these are ones I've used in the past. You can, of course, grade it out of 100 points, which makes it easier for you. But if it's a quiz or something like that where you're just checking off the number that are correct, maybe it's 20 points or 10 points or whatever it might be. You can add a rubric here, which I won't show you in this video, but there is the possibility of adding a rubric. And then add the due date. And to add a due date, you want to click the calendar button. And let's say I want to do Sunday. It'll automatically show up as 11:59 p.m., the close of the day, but you can change that right here and select a time. And then if you want to include this column in the Grade Center calculations and show it in the Grade Center to students, you want to have these defaults selected. That also allows you to add these columns into total column and a weighted grading column. So this is just how you add one as a test. And of course, you want to click submit to be able to see it in the Grade Center, but I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. There is another way to add a column to a Grade Center, and that's actually a preferred way that goes along with the content you have in a course and that allows your students to submit the assignments to you and to have them be collected and gradable in the Grade Center. And I'm going to just show you where I have a demonstration of that already done. So right now, you can see that I'm on a course page. I simply clicked into this section of the course content over here. And you'll see where I've added a test kind of demonstration assignment up here. And I have a description here of what that is. But if you click into here, this is basically how students would be able to submit assignments through the course itself. So they can click on the link, they see the points that are possible, a description of what the assignment is, and they're able to either write a submission by clicking here, or so that might be used by any student that doesn't have access to Microsoft Word or another type of file that they can write it directly in here, or they can browse their computer to attach a file. So this is how most students will end up submitting something to the Grade Center and to you for an assignment. And it's really easy for them to do. So they would attach that and then they just click submit. They can also save a draft, for instance, if they're using that text submission feature, which is really helpful. So I'm going to cancel just out of here so I can go back to showing you how to actually add an item such as an assignment to a course. So for instance, normally on your course section, you'll see under what's called core components, a place for discussion boards, assignments for your course modules or course materials. And under assignments might be where you would have all of the assignments collected. And so if you were to click on that page and then go here under assessments, this is where you actually can add a test, a survey, or an assignment that can be delivered by a student via a type of Dropbox. So I'm going to demonstrate what I've already created here just by clicking on assignment. And then you'll see here is where you name it and then type in a description for it. So again, I'm going to write assignment demonstration, which is already there. I generally always change the color of that link to blue because people are used to seeing links in blue via multiple sources on the internet. And so I usually pick this one, which is dark hard blue, and apply that color. And then you can, put something in here. And then you can also attach files to this. So if you have a description of what the assignment is that's on a Word document that you want students to look at in more detail, this is where you would browse your computer to assign it here. And again, then this is where, similar to in creating a column otherwise, you're going to select due date. It'll show up 11:59 p.m. and then add points possible. And then a rubric if you'd like. You always want to look under the submission details. Generally, it's going to be an individual submission. It can be changed to a group submission. And for number of attempts, sometimes it's advisable to change this to multiple attempts just in case. So something like 2 or 3 attempts. Just in case students upload the wrong document, or if you want them to submit revised versions, then it's already set so that they can submit an additional version and that they're not locked out from doing so. And so you can also here designate, do you want it to be the highest grade, for instance? What if their revision isn't as good as the draft version, for instance? The highest grade or the last graded attempt, and some other choices. And then you can also check this for any of the plagiarism or anti-plagiarism tools, which are helpful for you, but also for students. So if you check, the submissions can be submitted using SafeAssign, you can also allow students to view SafeAssign for their attempts, which is helpful. I'm going to just uncheck that. And then under grading options, you don't usually want to change anything here. Anonymous grading is sometimes not advised. And so if you do have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to the IDEA team. Display of grades. This is where, before what I just talked about, you can change this primary score to be the percentage or letter grade or complete, incomplete if you choose, and to have a secondary score listed. And you want to make sure that this is checked, the box to include it in Grade Center grading calculations. That is the default, which is helpful. And you also want to make sure to show it to the students in My Grades so that there's always transparency for them in terms of what their grades are. And that does actually really help to give them kind of self-motivation, for improving their scores and just following along with what their grade is in the class. I generally don't check this box to show the average and median statistics. It's sometimes helpful for, if you want students to be able to gauge their work compared compared to other students in the class. And then having the assignment be available if you're ready for students to submit the assignment. And you can track the number of views, though, if you're running reports related to tracking and what students have seen in a course, but that's not necessary. And so you can click submit. And whenever you submit something, it always comes up at the end. So if you want to move it around, of course, you can move it up to the top. And then you'll see where the students can click in there, and then they can, see the due date and the points possible, and again, submit their assignment. And so if I were to go back to the Grade Center now, I'll see where that column has been added. If I go all the way to the right, here's the original one that I had, and then here's the test column that I just created, added to the end of the Grade Center. And again, if you want that moved around, you just go to Manage and then Column Organization.